Can you share with us an experience that has been one of the most weird? For example, people like making abrupt orders.
That happens so much.
Any unforgettable experience in this cake business?
Well, yeah, maybe the recent one actually, because the person made an order for cake and then popsicles, cake pops as well. I'm sure the bakers know about them. They are like sweets. You put them on like lollipop sticks.
Okay.
And that it was last minute because those are needed. You need to work on them earlier on
and give them time.
And give them time. But the person has been my good customer.
And they had built a track record.
Yes, that built, and you can't let the customer
You're like,
down. So I made with my team, because now I've grown to a team. I made with my team over and over again. But the last minute, the popsicles kept on cracking.
Because the pressure was too much.
The pressure is too much. And you remove them from the fridge, put the chocolate, and it keeps on cracking. But and they had a specific design that they wanted. So I informed them that I'm not going to be able to achieve this because of the time you've given me.
Yeah.
So they understood, and at least I was able to deliver.
That's very interesting. If someone is actually to start a business, a cake business, how much should they roughly start with?
Well, if I'm to go back, like from the time we started, in the middle of separating with my friends, okay, not really separating, everyone really
just dissolved.
Yeah. We started with a charcoal oven.
A sigiri.
Actually, a sigiri, yes. The real sigiri, you could put sand and put the mixture in a saucepan, then put in the sand. So we started like that. So use what you have available. And as time grows, you keep on adding, adjusting. And ideally, it depends on what you have, really. That's what I can say, because I cannot set a standard of start with an electric oven. You may not have the resources, but charcoal ovens, even the sand that you have at home, you can start with it. During lockdown, we saw many people come up with
businesses that were crazy.
Especially even in the cake business.
Yeah.
Now, most of the people that I used to serve before lockdown became bakers.
Wow.
And they would come and you give them the advice, because you see, this world is really too big for all of us. And each of us already has a market. Each of us, it's big, it's enough.
Everyone has their own market.
Everyone has their own market. Yes. So start with what you have. Start with mulao if it's what you have. If you can afford the mixer, buy a mixer. If you can afford the big commercial oven, buy it. If you have the home oven at home, because I kept on progressing from the sigiri to the charcoal oven, then to the home oven, then of course now I have the commercial ovens and all that.
Well, Liz, speaking about campus, and at that time you were very curious to start this particular one on learning how to bake. What have you been able to do for yourself in terms of achievements in this Cakesome business?
Of course, as a person, I've been able to attain, sustain myself as a person, sustain my family. Of course, the assets are not yet materialized, but we are getting there. And be able to employ people. Because now I run the business with my sister, my friend Joan, and when you're able to get someone and employ them and see them grow and become successful, because we usually get people, we train them and we employ them.
Okay.
Then when we employ them, they work with us.
How about those ones that come to learn and go?
Yes, we also do that. We usually do it one-on-one. The place I'm working in is not so big as yet to afford a big class, but we do one-on-ones. When a person wants to come and learn, we take them on, they come, we do one-on-one, and then they come and go.
I'm curious about Liz. How do you know that this is really good cake? Because different clients can say, oh my God, this cake is tasty. And someone says, no, it's not. I'm looking at their taste buds. Do they get leveled up to know, or there are some cakes that they taste that are better than the others?
Of course, everyone has their own tastes and preferences. Like how you prefer a green, I may prefer a red. But ideally, a cake is supposed to be moist. To me, not so sweet, because these days we are against sugar and all that. But a cake is supposed to be moist, it's supposed to be soft. People that who are older prefer harder cakes, the ones that they usually say, those long time cakes that we used to eat. But soft, moist, and really tasty, something that melts in your mouth.
Wow, interesting. I really love that particular aspect. But what could be one of the challenges Zosese Kanye, especially in business?
Wow. Of course, there are many, but I'll zero down to capital.
Later, what can be sent in? Fixed amount, like 500K.
Okay, if you have, the reason why I've not fixed it down is because different situations, a person can be going there are different levels, that's what I can say. Waliwo wa charcoal oven, waliwo wa sigiri, waliwo wa masanyalaze, waliwo wa gas. So I can't fix and say, let's start with 500,000.
Okay.
Because
so the cake business is not something
yes, and it's quite wide. Omuntu ayinza okutandikira ku queen cakes, omulala natandikira ku gundi zino eza birthdays, or cookies, because cookies is also part of baking, or other products, because now we have grown to expand to be able to serve not only cake but other things as well in the business.
Well, Liz, I'm very curious to know, especially, where is the big money? Big money, edimu wedding cakes, in maybe a certain order or a certain ceremony. You
can look at it in two ways. You know, went to school and we learned about profit maximization and sales maximization. So of course, not the best, but wedding cakes have a profit margin and they bring in more money for the business.
Okay.
So the more the wedding cakes you get, at least you have a bigger profit margin to put back in the business.
Okay.
But then you will not always have wedding cakes.
True.
You will not always have wedding cakes. So you need something, the business always needs something to keep you going, to keep you in business. So that's why we had to diversify and find a way of serving omuntu wa bulijjo, because that's the money that will keep you going. At the end of the day, you always have rent, you have bills to pay. So in a month, if you don't have a wedding cake, what will happen? Will you close?
No, you can't.
You can't close. So you have to find a way of, diversifying things. What else can you do? That is part of the business that can bring in the business. Yes. So the big money is, of course, is in the wedding cakes. But if you have not grown to that level, what can you do that can bring in money on a daily basis?
Absolutely.
Yes.
I really love that fact. But let's look at employment, 9-to-5 jobs, and let us look at you having this business, Cakesome. How have you transitioned in terms of mindset, especially saying that, 9-to-5, business, I am here, let me birth you, let me grow you.
9-to-5. How have transitioned?
9-to-5. The people who have said that, told themselves that, hey, maybe
I have to be in a 9-to-5,
and they have to be in a 9-to-5, and another is like, let me keep balance in 9-to-5 and the cake business. But I'm sure there are lessons, there are things like mindset transformation along the way where you say, let me now focus on Cakesome.
There's nothing as good as seeing your efforts working. The challenge of the 9-to-5, especially if it's not, if you're being employed, you, of course, you have targets, you have everything, but you can wake up and the job is not there. And of course, we have seen this with the trends of usage, and the US, whatever has been going on, especially at the beginning of the year. But the beauty of knowing that, okay, yes, I'm not earning much from this for now, but if I put in more effort, if I put all my effort in, the bigger picture, it will put me far. It will put me far. It will create a legacy for me and my children if they are interested in the business. But at least you know that you're building something from scratch, and it will, of course, it's not easy. It's as if raising a kid from down. It's usually like a baby.
To believe in it,
to believe in yourself, to believe in the business as well.
Wow.
Wait a lot of patience actually,
and
perseverance, and that mindset is what has really kept me moving, because sometimes of course you see nenga things are leaving me, my friends are leaving, my friends of 9 to 5 are leaving I'm not making it, but if you persevere, the good things are in front, like they said, but you keep moving, and you know that anytime, even your breakthrough will come through.
Wow. I'm very curious, Okutegeda, at what point actually do you start taking out the profit from your business?
I can't say exactly, but what we have done, especially me and my partner, we gauge, of course, by the end of the month, you count and you know how much have you earned this month. And not exactly take out a profit of zinozange zonna. You pay yourself a salary.
Can you really hint more on that?
It's quite important as a business person to pay yourself. Otherwise, you would die in a movie like this. Because you need to survive as a person as well. You have needs, you have bills at home. Separating the business from the esente za kameza, or separating esente zenyanya for your home from the business money. But how would you do that if you don't stick and say, if I'm to pay myself, let me say 200,000 per month, it will be that, and the rest of the money will go back into the business. Of course, you see that with time, how is the business performing? Let me say, if you have made a profit in a month of like 2 million or even 500, what percentage can you get? You can say, let me set a percentage of like 10%. Let me set a percentage of like 30%, depending on how you see your business is growing. But it's very important to know that the business needs to grow fast to sustain you as a person. The business needs to grow. Don't look at the profit now and then you get all the profit. You go and say, let me go to the bond and buy myself a car. You'll be excited, and yet the business is still struggling. You find you don't have things to restock. You don't have ingredients to restock. If you have workers, you've not yet paid their salaries. If you have bills to pay, you've not yet paid rent. That is not being reasonable. So once you see your business starting to make a good amount of profit, set a standard of how much you're going to be paying yourself. Like how you set a standard of how you're going to pay your workers, regardless of whether the business is making money or not. The workers, since they've done their job, they have to be paid.
I love the fact that raises an issue that actually is very important. It is a chintucha personal finance and business money.
Well, it takes a lot of integrity, but for your business to grow, it has to really, really be emphasized. If the person is doing a business alone, it may not be easy, but once you have checks and you're working with someone, you keep each other accountable. You keep each other accountable, and you know that there are checks and balances.
Wow.
If you're expecting that you have this money in the pocket, let it be this money. If you're expecting that, because at the end of the business will always need the money to run. Now, for my case, it's not only the bakery. We have a supplies shop. We sell ingredients. We sell the daily things of donuts and everything.
Wow.
But we have to set aside money and say, if you've paid yourself this amount, this is the amount you're taking for the month. The rest is going back into the business, because at the end of the day you have to stock things for the shop, you have to stock ingredients for the bakery, you have to pay the workers, you have to pay rent.
Meaning that if there's that business person who's not really tracking down
yes, you
their
have
transactions,
to track, track down your sales, track down your expenses for the business, and set the amount and stick to it.
Wow, I'm very excited. It's a very deep conversation. But someone is watching us and they're very curious and they're saying, Liz, omwezi ekitone nnyo sobola okuba nga funanga sente mmeka average?
Kisinzira, because now really if you have made sales of, let me say, 500 may even be a lot. If you've made sales of kind of 500,000, naye remember that I'm starting small because that may be for a home baker. Like for example, you have sold, let's just say in a week, you have sold like 5 cakes.
Okay.
We're selling a cake for 100,000. The 100,000 is not all yours. It's not the money that has come in.
So we're trying to
no. You will need money to restock the sugar, the flour, the what, the boards, and that's the biggest amount. So you put a percentage and you say, if it's 500,000, because it's 500 this month, let me take 20%, let me take 30%. So that the rest of the money can be able to go back into the business and you grow it.
Wow. I would like you to hint more on that, especially it looks like there's a formula that you use. Let's say, I'm funny 100,000 on this cake. I've taken off. Yesterday we had a guest who said when she gets the money, she takes off tithe, she takes off offering. Can you just share with us as business owners, wow, no gamba, nakuja ko 30%, nziza mu business, maybe 20%, magoba genfunye. Can you do maybe something like that, or that you usually do?
Of course, it's a different case because the business is bigger than, yeah, businesses vary. But like the example of given for 500,000, what was the cakes? No jam of 500,000. It can be 500,000 sales. It can be 500,000 profits.
500,000 sales, 500,000 profit. Okay.
You get. So 500,000 sales. That means you've not yet removed the profit. When you sanga watademu in that 500,000 from the sales, you've put in like 400. If you've not calculated your things well, which is really way too high, the profit margin will be so low. Or you may find you didn't put in too much and you've made, you have a profit from the 500, you have a profit of 300,000.
Wow.
So if you've made sales of 500,000, ideally, to me, what I would think, the business needs more. Funako 50% because it take it back in the business.
Wow, 50.
250.
Tutunze cake ya birthday cake, client ajagadde ko 150. Abafuna 50% naza mu business. 50.
So that you can be, next time you have an order, you don't go to borrow from your friend.
Yeah.
You have money for sugar, you have money for the boards and boxes, you have money for flour and all those things. Jakotai. Actually, know your profit. Know your profit first. No, calculate and know. Set prices and know. How much profit do I make? If you have a profit of like, let me say 40k, remove the tithe. Take it to God. Ne offering.
Munage yaimirizawo business kati wotata chimu cha 10.
I know, his son has given you the customers.
Interesting.
Take it to God, then pay yourself.
Wow.
Even if it's 20,000 from that cake of 100,000, pay yourself.
You know, one of the key highlights I feel I've really enjoyed from you, Liz.
And then another thing, save.
Pay yourself and save. wesasuleko era osevinge.
Actually, the best thing is usually tithe, save, pay yourself, then you put it back in the business.
Wow. I really love that. But is there at one point any message you have for business owners? Something they're not doing right and you're like, Munag, trade deco.
Business owners. Of course, eating money from the business and the business, so mixing up those things.
Those finances, personal finances and business
finances. Of course, sometimes it's hard, but it's quite important to separate because there's no way our business, if you are going to grow, to build legacies, like Mkwano, like those big businesses, there's no how we are going to grow if we keep mixing money. So you have to have the discipline as a person. Nechilala, you have to know that this business, CEO, God gave it to you, you're just a steward.
Okay.
So that if we ever remember that, you start running the business as an employee.
Wow.
You know that you have a higher power that sees everything that you do, whether good or bad. The way you treat your customers, the way you treat your workers, the way you treat yourself, the way you handle the money. So when you know that the person, the real owner of the business is God, you will know that you have someone to report to at the end of the day. Because God is the final person we report to. In one way or the other, he will ask you, when I gave you this business, how did you run it? You know that story in the Bible of the talents?
Yeah.
You know?
The 5, the 10, and the 1.
Yeah. So the other one, he did. And then when God came, he was like, I know that you're what. So I decided to hide. So as you're doing the business, find ways, be like the other wise people.
Yeah.
You know, find ways of growing the business. Expand. Find ways where you see a gap. Find a way of creating a solution.
Oh yeah.
Because now, like us, originally we had started with an aim of, we have a point where we can put our cakes and see. And they come and pick the cakes from there. Because originally I was doing it from home.
Okay.
So we realized, as the family started growing and all that, we realized we couldn't keep the business in the kitchen, we have to put it out. That was after COVID. So what we did, we put it out. It started in Chanja, then after here we are in Chisasi. So we realized that there was a need. The bakers were many after COVID.
More bakers in the market.
But they would have to go to town
to get the stuff. We're like, why don't we bring the things closer to people?
It's not a must that you have to put
Atenga order yaze chiro oyagala ku baking ajagala ku mata. Oh yeah.
We had to find a way of juggling that. So Mpola we started stocking things. And at least we have seen people have been served, people have been, you see, when a person comes and they are impressed by what you've, not even just serving them and selling to them, but at least you offer help in one way or the other. The
care and showing beyond just the money that they are giving. How do you want to sign off today from this show?
What I would like to say is, it's a great opportunity to be in the space of serving people. Because once you meet the needs of people, when I'm taking a cake, let me say a wedding cake, I don't see it as just a cake people are going to eat. I see it as the first meal that the couple is going to eat. So it's this, let's take the opportunity of serving people important. Because these are God's people. They are not
our people.
You may look at a person and you feel, you don't know where your blessing will come from. So it's a great honor to be in the space of serving people, and I'm grateful for my customers. I'm grateful for my friends that have supported me. I'm grateful for my family, my husband, my siblings, my mom. My mom has been a great support system, and I believe good things are ahead.
Wow, thank you, Liz. That has been really so profound, especially coming from a place of experience. But I'm very super excited that it has been a very great conversation, especially looking at the cake business, how you started, how you are thriving. Well, you are encouraged by Liz, Cakesome, Uganda, business. Yo, well, we want to wrap it right here and right now. I want to thank you so much for being a great audience. Yesterday and this week, we have seen various visitors coming in, you know, and guests about mobile, Bamodiko, about liquid soap, about fresh fruits and grocery, and we're excited that they will had someone in the cake. Well, we'll have also a lineup of people who are going to come and teach us, especially on finance. Katubango struggling of saving a sente. Nze wente bwengamba. Wekomere ku Promise TV on the Sunrise Show. Enchaka tuloba tunayingizawo a gentleman. He is a fitness coach. Coach Caesar. Tulaba natwakowode. Tulabenga bukitambula mu gym eyo. So I want to sign off right here and right now and say thank you for being a great audience. From us to you, want to say bye-bye. Bye.